Who is your best friend in strongman scene?
All right, what's going on there, fellas? Welcome back to the channel. Before I forget, leave a like. Your boy's trying to get the fancy groceries, trying to get filthy rich. Now, a while ago, I put up in the community tab a little thing for you guys to give me your training, nutrition, whatever the hell related questions. And I did not forget about that. I just procrastinated for a very long time. But here we are to answer your questions and hopefully help you with your training at least a little bit. The first question is says similar to another question here. What are your favorite fitness YouTube videos, i.e., videos that you find yourself watching over and over? And man, there's quite a few. That's something that I do regularly. Is I've got a couple playlists saved of things that I make a point to rewatch because I've talked many, many times about how lifting, there aren't necessarily these complex answers a lot of the time. The person who succeeds, right, genetics equated, is the guy who's just freakishly consistent with bringing a pretty solid intensity to these fundamentals, which is why I'm never averse to being reminded of those fundamentals. Because yes, I've heard it before, but yes, I should be told. Yes, I need to put my foot back on the gas with my nutrition. Yes, I need to redouble my efforts for sleep hygiene. Yes, I need to hydrate better. Whatever the hell it is, right? I think being reminded of these, whether it's in the gym fundamentals of treat light weights like they're heavy, use every opportunity to practice your technique. Don't just try to lock in your technique when it comes time to work sets. Those warm-ups aren't just to get warm. They're limited windows for opportunities for practice during the week. Take advantage of them. And there's loads and loads of these fundamentals that I want to be reminded of frequently because I want to be redoubling my efforts to get the best result I can out of my training. So I've got some more logistical ones, just like a bunch of stand efforting videos. There's a bunch of training ones that remind me of core kind of fundamental concepts. But then there's also training videos that are just kind of fuel for my soul. There's something that I found when I was a teenager, and I'm like, damn, that guy's cool. I want to be like that guy. And it gave me a sense of direction in life is making small decisions and putting in work daily to be slightly more like that guy. Those videos I just consider food for the soul. And I watch them while I eat breakfast. I watch them while like right before I go to bed. They just kind of keep me rooted in what I want to do, which is to do cool shit. And I personally think being strong is cool. Now there are loads of them, right? Tons and tons of videos. Got this big old playlist, so I'm not just getting bored watching the same stuff over and over. That gets me really fired up to train. I've got several different ones. Like this is what I watch when I have a leg day coming up. This is what I watch when I have a squat day or a deadlift day or an overhead day. But then there's more just kind of conceptual ones. There's day of eating videos of someone pushing themselves through a lot of food. I'm like, damn, this guy's kind of cool. It makes me kind of feel a little bit cool when I'm slogging through these meals. You know, people often joke about how when you're kind of eating that more bodybuilder-esque diet, people will just kind of build the habit of watching bodybuilder day of eating videos while they eat to almost normalize it. Where it's not a big deal. All these guys I watch do it, so I'm doing it too. It almost makes it a slightly more pedestrian task than just doing it alone, thinking you're the only one dumb enough to do this shit. But loads of videos, like tons of Dan Green videos I watch regularly. That was someone who just really got me fired up to train back when I was first starting, and seeing the fact that that guy just puts in work regardless. Just training is what he does, and he pushes hard simply for the sake of pushing hard, even to this day. Definitely gets me fired up. One that comes to mind off the top of my head because I just have been watching it quite a bit recently is the Big Z Week in the Life. Man, just cool. The next question is asking about substituting strict barbell overhead press for strict log press. He talks about how well-known strongman coach Shane German often will advocate for this because he finds that the positions of the strict log press are easier on the joints, which allows the athlete to accumulate more total training volume, which gives them a bolstered result. He's just curious my feelings on that, and if you would be missing out on any specific training effect by prioritizing the strict log over the strict barbell press. Now, Shane is a phenomenal coach, you know, far more accomplished than myself. And if he finds that, I would go out on a limb and back it and say it's a trend. For myself personally as an athlete, I have not found that wrist, elbow, even shoulder joint fatigue were rate limiters for how much volume I could log on a strict press. Actually, for myself, it's a little bit more my low back is the rate limiter. So the log press would actually make that more exaggerated by pushing my center of mass backwards and almost limit my own training volume. So for the exact opposite reasons, I might favor towards a barbell, but that's my specific experience as an athlete. If someone else, it was their elbows. If someone else, it was their wrists. I could see that freeing up the ability to put in more work. It's the same thing with like push press. If you've got a floating front rack, that kind of trampoline bicep effect is probably going to limit your ability to put in relevant training volume. So doing your push presses on a log and establishing that body to implement contact will let you accumulate more effective training volume. But if you've got a great front rack, the log might just beat you up a little bit more due to those compromised positions. So it's going to come down person to person, but I think it's worth a try, and I think Shane, if I'm familiar enough with his stuff, would say that, that low back is an inability to control and stabilize that extended posture, and that's why you're accumulating that fatigue at the low back. If you had greater control of those positions, that wouldn't be the case. And maybe so, and I'm definitely taking steps to gain control of that extended posture, but thus far, it still ends up being the rate limiter, right? Because something's got to be the rate limiter at the end of the day. So if I was you, I might give it a try and see if it lets you accumulate a little bit more training volume in that vertical pressing plane. Awesome. You'll probably get a slightly better training effect from that. If it's the same, okay, one of them's going to be slightly more backwards leaned and neutral grip, and there's going to be minor differences, but you're not going to be missing out on much. It's not a dangerous experiment to run. And if it lets you accumulate less training volume, maybe you're a barbell guy for the time being. Now, the next question is, what are some training concepts that yielded me a ton of good results when I was maybe weaker and earlier in my training career, that as I've gotten stronger and the absolute loads being shifted have gone up and up and up, that have become less useful as training modalities, as training ideologies? And while there's been tons of exercises that have kind of been in and out of the program based on my weaknesses at the time, because that is kind of a moving target, not many things have been thrown out just because, I'm that much stronger now. It carries that much fatigue. I can't do it at all. Maybe I'm limited in the number of sets I can do. Maybe I'm limited for the durations I run that exercise or where I run that exercise relative to like a rigorous peaking phase. But there's not really much I have thrown out due to that pure fatigue. But in terms of training concepts, I used to really revolve my thoughts around a little bit more of an MRV approach to programming, which is if I can do more, I should. If I can do more, I should. And as I've gotten to greater levels of absolute strength, it's definitely switched over to be a minimum effective volume. And not just the minimum effective volume to get any training response, but specifically the minimum effective volume to get the desired rate of adaptation. And if I can get that off of 3, I'm going to stay at 3, and my job is to do a really good job of those 3. Try to stack training quality, not just stack training quantity. Because when you're constantly looking through that MRV lens, because that's what it is, it's a lens to look at refining your program. And some people benefit from that lens quite a bit based on what they were doing in the past. But when you look through nothing but that lens, you keep building that volume outward, and inevitably set quality begins to slip. Your proximity to failure, your attention to detail slips and slips and slips to allow you to fit more and more volume, because when we're only looking through that lens, that's considered a success. I'm handling even more. That means my result will be even better. Maybe, but only if quality hasn't slipped to allow you to do so. So nowadays, especially, and when I work with like really exotically strong people, we usually come at it from that minimum effective. If we are making a really desirable rate of progression off of 2 sets, we're going to rock with 2 sets and try to do a really good job with those, rather than be like, maybe we could get even better with 3. Maybe so, but I would rather leave that card to play down the line when we start running into a bit of resistance. All right, so that's what we were able to get through for the day. I appreciate you guys watching. Wish I'd gotten through more than the 3 or 4 we did there, but I guess that means I will have to not be lazy and do another one of these relatively soon if you guys enjoy it. If you got more questions, let me know. If you got any adjustments to the video format, please let me know. I'm going hard, trying to grow the channel, take notes on what works, take notes on what people don't like, and try to create a good viewing experience for you guys. I appreciate you as always.